Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. This video is just sort of a quick response to those who've made some comments to me regarding my video on the Trump executive orders. Most notably, folks sort of have been saying, oh, well, this doesn't apply to Thailand, so why are you talking about it? Some have even gone as far as saying I'm trying to drum up business or whatever. That's not really the case. What I'm trying to impart is the information that this to me looks like it is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. I think that there's going to be more of these kind of changes that are going to come about in the U.S. immigration process as a result of a change in the presidential administration. I think Trump is probably going to make significant changes using the phraseology that was used on the campaign trail of so-called extreme vetting. I think that is very likely to result in certain changes to the consular processing of visa applications. Now, is it going to be sort of regionally specific? Possibly, and will these changes be more acutely felt in certain regions and countries? Definitely. But it's been my experience over the years that when you have overall policy changes within the administration, or even policy changes that are supposed to be sort of aimed at one specific sector or one specific issue, oftentimes these policies are sort of applied broadly, so policy changes can sort of affect everyone. A good example is there's recently been changes with respect to medical exams that are taken in connection with visa applications. I'm sure that these changes to the medical exam were to deal with and target an acute specific issue. But the upshot is that everyone has to deal with the new requirements and the new guidelines and protocols. These kind of changes, especially to those who really sort of erroneously believe that this is just a routine process. No, it's a constantly evolving process. And when you get stuck in one of these situations where things have sort of changed in your case versus the way things were processed before, there's no frame of reference for how to deal with it. Again, it's probably why it's not a bad idea to hire a legal professional, an attorney like myself, to help handle these kinds of things. The reason for that is we're more equipped to be able to deal with it. Also, as part of my practice, for example, I see this stuff coming down the pike on prior cases. So in a way, those that retain me sort of get the benefit of my previous experience in cases that have come along just before them. To sort of get back to the point, just with respect to Trump and the executive orders, I don't think this is the end of the line. I do believe that extreme vetting is going to result in overall, probably broadly applied policy changes in a consular processing environment. And then on top of that, I do believe that U.S. Customs and Border Protection, those are the folks that go ahead and stamp people in the United States and basically inspect aliens, etc. I think that this is probably a sign of a more stringently applied and enforced immigration code to come. So for this reason and many more, I think it's probably erroneous to make the assumption that this is only going to apply to 7 specific countries. That's not the way I'm seeing it. And moreover, I think there's a pretty good idea, or there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see some real changes to the overall process. For example, so-called comprehensive immigration reform, that could actually happen in the next couple of years. In my opinion, it's the same party in both the House, Senate, and the presidency right now. If there was ever a time to go ahead and do comprehensive immigration reform, or so-called CIR, this would probably be one of the administrations that it might happen in. And moreover, the newly inaugurated president has basically campaigned on one of the major planks of his campaign was matters involving U.S. immigration. So I don't think it's particularly prudent to make the assumption that this is it. If anything, I think this is sort of the opening salvo into many changes to the overall process. So for those who sort of think that, this is not something to really worry about maybe here in Southeast Asia, yes, the acute stuff, do I think there's going to be a travel ban or anything from any of the countries in sort of ASEAN or the greater East Asia region? I doubt it. I truly doubt that. It's not impossible that it could happen, but I doubt it would. But I do think that overall policy and protocols as they're applied across the board, I think there's a strong possibility there could be changes there. One has to understand that when running a large and multinational sort of bureaucratic endeavor like the U.S. State Department, it's far easier to make uniform rules than to have specific little peccadillo type rules for each specific little post. Now, as anybody who's practiced immigration law can tell you, there are differences in the way that posts do things and the way that posts process things. That's based on an assessment of what's going on the ground, the overall situation with respect to the nationals in that country, the overall backlog of cases in that country. For example, China has a very different way of dealing with visa appointments, although that's subject to change here fairly soon, I think. All of this, my only point is, yes, things are slightly different, but when you're making policy, you want to try to broadly apply it, because that's going to be the easiest, if for nothing else, it's the most efficient and easy and effective way to do things from the standpoint of personnel. It's the easiest way to go ahead and deal with these matters, because you know from post to post, this is how we process this is how we deal with that. If those who think that this is only going to apply in a broad, just to 7 specific countries, I don't think that that's a very probable eventuality. If anything, I think it's probably going to go the opposite direction. I think we're probably going to see them pull the throttle back quite a bit from what's happened with respect to this rather quick and rather jarring visa ban and entry ban. I think that, yes, that will mellow out in the coming months, but I think a broader, sort of more stringent overall environment of processing visa applications is probably in the offing.